Finally back outside making a video. I haven't done this in a while. Probably should change the lens. Let me know what you think. If you want a wider angle, I can definitely do that. But yeah, welcome to my new neighborhood. Well, it's not really that new. I moved here in June, so it's not really that new of a neighborhood. But the reason I moved here is because the Long Island Railroad is like right there, which I think is great for having fun and stuff, but it means that going to work is a little bit more of a haul. I have to ride a bus for like half an hour instead of just walking for 20 minutes, but it's still pretty good. So this video, I want to follow up on yesterday's video where I was talking about teaching and about how the word teacher is unsatisfying. So a couple of observations this morning on my way in. First, teachers are doing so much that, well, they're not doing what you think they're doing. It's almost like a ridiculous pantomime to think of that old critique of depositing, bank deposit education that Paulo Freire, or Freire, I think is how you say it. I remember being at a conference at Penn State, and this old lady had nothing to offer in her paper, just stared at me and said, "It's pronounced this way," when she gave her paper, because all she had to offer was her interpretation of correct pronunciation as a marker of superiority. I don't think she had much to offer in terms of scholarship. I even forget her name. But that was at the Penn State Debate Education Conference, but which was good, but maybe that's another video about that old conference. I think a lot of good came out of that, but most debate coaches have kind of ignored it. So teachers aren't really doing depositing. In fact, it's not possible to do that. Well, they're not doing that. And second point is, it's not possible to do that anymore with the way that information circulates, interacts, flows. It's just not really possible to do that at all. So even if you wanted to be a banking deposit education person, you could not do it. It would not be possible to do it. And the reason why is because anything you deposit will be immediately torn in multiple directions by social media, by propagandistic website information, by the centripetal forces of society on language, if you think of it as heteroglossic. And or maybe the depositing model is a centripetal model of language education, and centrifugal forces are so incredibly powerful now that the center just can't even take shape linguistically in terms of depositing. So with those two things in mind, it feels like teacher is this very undercutting kind of name. It also brings up images of nurturing and care and being young and being inspired. And all of that seems to fly in the face of this idea of the teacher as being some sort of source of knowledge only. So I just wonder if the term has outlived its utility, or if the term could even be reclaimed in some way. I don't know. I find it to be a dissatisfactory way of describing what I'm doing in the classroom. I think in the classroom maybe guide, but that doesn't really, that has even worse sentiment and sediment on it than teacher. But I wonder if it is possible to teach, and I've always wondered that. In that model way of like, here, I know something, let me give it to you, let me show you what to know. I don't even know if that's possible anymore. I think there's kind of a referee function, maybe. Well, this isn't really how it's done, but then in that same breath, here are the critiques of how it's done. And in that same breath, what are the critiques that you have to offer about how it's done? Again, it's back to critical thinking. But more and more, I'm starting to think the teacher is more of a critical discourse function. That is to say, everything is a discourse. Here's how we navigate discourses. Maybe that's what the teacher is. A navigator, maybe. But a lot more to say about that. Kind of written a little something kind of using nautical metaphors recently. It might come out in Italy. I don't know. Haven't heard from them yet. But maybe more to say about that in a later video. But for now, I've made it to the bus stop. I'm thinking about what it is I'm going to do today. Teach, inspire people, get people thinking. I think that I've done a good job. If people cannot forget about a class, something I said, something that I made them think about or read about, if they can't remember that, if they can't forget that, even if they try, then I think that is successful teaching, or whatever the word is that we're going to use to replace that. If you want to replace it, maybe you don't.